Hey YouTube, what's going on? It's Reader 1717, aka Kemi, and I've got a new DVD slash Blu Ray haul for you guys today. Been hitting up some pawn shops and found some good stuff. Two of the items here are not from a pawn store that I went to, but I will point those out when I get to them. This, however, Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2 double feature is. Picked it up for like dirt cheap. I think I paid like $3 for it. And this is actually not very common to find the double feature, at least not in my neck of the woods. I know that I think on Amazon or whatever, I think it might go for like maybe $12 to $18 depending. Prices with like out of print stuff or rare stuff tends to fluctuate. Sometimes something is out of print, but then they release it on Blu-ray, and it no longer has that status. So the value of it changes. But I like this because it also saves space on the shelf, which if you collect anything that goes on the shelf, you know exactly what I mean. Space is always, like real estate's always a premium. So happy to get that because they're great movies. Breakfast at Tiffany's, another classic movie that I watched ages ago. Didn't have this in my collection, not on DVD or anything like that, not even on VHS. This is the first time I'm owning this, so quite happy to have it. There are just times you feel like returning to certain classics, and for me, this is a movie that I can revisit. And for the movies that I do have, that's what I want to do. I want to have movies in my library that are rewatchable. Otherwise, why own them? You know. Rock and Rolla, Guy Ritchie. This movie is something that I had heard about, but I hadn't actually seen up until today. I watched it just before making this video. Great flick. It's in that typical arena of the movies that he does where it's like it's a heist film, lots of little like side plot lines going on, but he kind of brings it all together and ties it up with a nice red ribbon at the end. And yeah, I nobody really ever talks about this movie. Um, Snatch is definitely better. The editing and stuff in Snatch is amazing. This is a little bit more subdued, but just really funny, clever, and it just keeps you watching till the very end. It hooks you. And I think, when you want to watch a movie that's action based, that's what you want. You want a little bit of chuckles here and there. You want to be interested. You don't want to, the thing with this movie actually is if you don't pay attention, you'll miss something. It moves a little bit quickly in that way in terms of the dialogue and what they're saying. So you do have to pay attention in order to keep track of the characters so that you won't get lost as the story unfolds. But really underrated movie. Next up, Jack Frost and Vinegar Syndrome. Um, this is really hard to find. I paid $10 for this. However, the reason being is because it was missing its slipcover, which sucks, but I was not going to leave this movie on the shelf. As far as the horror genre goes, I have subgenres that I really enjoy. So, I mean, I'm an 80s kid, so slasher flicks for sure. Horror comedies, I really, really enjoy. Psychological thrillers. I don't fuck with like demon, devil, Satan, exorcist type possession movies. I'm not really into torture flicks or splatter flicks. There's a time and a place for those things, but in general, not so much my cup of tea. But Jack Frost, A Killer Snowman, yes. Every time, yes. I also like, obviously, Universal Monsters, your classic stuff. I like the Hammer films as well. And I like just like campy horror, which is why I said horror comedy. So stuff like, I mean, Chucky, I would say Chucky is like my favorite franchise for the mainstream horror stuff. I just really, really resonated with that. I don't know if it's because I have a thing for toys or whatever, and the idea of a toy going bad just really appeals to me. Just like the idea of there being a killer snowman really appeals to me. So, yeah, excited to have this and to have this version of it. Nightcrawler, I would say possibly Jake Gyllenhaal's best performance, in my opinion. This movie is really, really good. If you like movies that deal with sociopaths, you'll dig this. Um, it's in the same vein as Man Bites Dog, but Man Bites Dog is definitely more fucked up, I think, in my personal opinion. It's a little more crazy, but this is sort of the same sort of idea. Like, how far will you go? Um, and how crazy are you? The performance he gives in this movie is, like I said, it's so well done. And I don't think a lot of people talk about this movie either, but it's a really, really good movie. If you like thrillers, if you like, stuff like American Psycho, Man Bites Dog, you will probably like Nightcrawler. And if you like Jake Gyllenhaal, you'll probably like this too. Check it out. Raising Arizona, Coen Brothers. Um, I had this movie and I sold it because I've gone through phases in my life where I just got rid of stuff en masse. And I really regret doing that, like from comic books to movies, to video games, to toys. And I don't even like to think about it because really it kills me because now I have to go back and get these things that I want. And I have to really whittle down my list. I can't just be spending money and being stupid about it. So, yeah. Anyway, Raising Arizona. If you want to see vintage, cool Nicolas Cage, check this out. It's very over the top. It's really funny. I think Holly Hunter's in this. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, she is. It's right on the front. So yeah, her performance is great, and Nicolas Cage's performance is really, really, really funny, and it's just a movie that I remember watching growing up. I mean, this came out I think like I want to say in like the mid 80s, so like either 80 86 or 87, something like that. I think I might be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But anyways, classic. Nice to have it in my library. Now, this I obviously didn't pick up at the pawn shop. I had to get this off eBay because you just can't find it anywhere in the wild in my neck of the woods. But Tusk, Kevin Smith, one of my favorite directors. This is messed up. This is a messed up movie. Um, the idea for this movie basically was germinated spontaneously on his podcast, and they were like, could you make a movie about some dude that turns into like a walrus? And then Kevin Smith is like, yes, I am up to the challenge of writing that movie. I will write that script. And he did. And he did a fucking amazing job because this is a crazy ass film. If you have no knowledge about what this is about, I suggest you go watch the trailer. Again, I would classify this as probably dark, like horror comedy. But Kevin, it feels like a Kevin Smith movie. I mean, the directors that I really enjoy, they have sort of a signature style to them or a flavor to them, and this definitely has that flavor. And I think this is probably Kevin Smith's first foray into like horror. So yeah, definitely check it out if you guys can find it, and if you can stomach it, because some people are really grossed out by it. So if you can stomach it, check it out. And last but not least, it's Waking Life. Richard Linklater. This one as well was not from the pawn shop. I got this at like a used like records, CDs, movies, like games, just kind of an all around used media store. And I don't believe that there's a North American Blu Ray for this. I could be wrong. The only ones that I've come across are really like imports or whatever, and I don't have a region free player, which I should probably get. But Waking Life, Richard Linklater is another director that I really have an immense amount of respect for, and I enjoy his body of work. This movie, though, is extremely heady, and it's very avant-garde in its style because it has an animation. It's an animation movie, in the sense that the animation is very similar to that of, the Aha video of Take On Me, how it's like a real person and then they kind of animate over top of that person. Well, this is sort of the same thing. And this movie makes you think. It's very philosophical in its nature and it makes you think. And if you're a person who likes to listen to existential conversations and, can get into that type of thing, then you will dig this movie. It's different. It's not one of his more talked about films, at least in general. I think if you're like into film and into movie, you will know about this movie and you will appreciate it for all those reasons. But generally speaking, it's not one of the ones most people talk about. So if you have an opportunity and you're not averse to existential conversation and philosophy and having your brain kind of hurt after, then definitely check this flick out. But that's it for me. Hope you guys are having a good week. And as always, I love hearing from you in the comment section. Please drop me a comment. Let me know if you've seen any of these movies, what you think of them, whether you like them, whether you hate them, whether you've never heard of them. If you have any recs as well, please put them down below. And I love talking movies. I love learning about stuff like this and sharing my passion. So yeah, thanks for watching and we'll talk to you guys soon.